Hello everyone, I wasn't going to make this video because I think Saryn is going to get nerfed soon, but you know what, let's live in the moment. She's good right now, so might as well use her. Here's the build I'm using right now. Ignore the arcanes, they're just random ones I picked up. I'm going to quickly go through the mods. If you don't care about that, you can always skip ahead to the gameplay part of the video. Corrosive projection obviously, because I think energy siphon is a waste of space. Cunning drift is optional of course, because it's an Exodus mod. Stretch, augur reach and overextended for that 280 range. You want your spores to reach as far as possible. Streamline to fix some of my efficiency problems, because I want to be hitting my 4 as often as possible for the viral proc. Vitality mod to not die. Transient fortitude and intensify to make up some of that negative strength from overextended. And primed continuity to help supplement my 3 and my 4. The one has no duration now, so it's just infinite, of course. Here are the abilities. Let's quickly go through them. Spores, 168 meters, this is the distance you can use them at. They only spread to about 44 meters from where your target dies, but they're so unbelievably broken, they almost never go away. If you can hit your one maybe once in Elite Onslaught, it takes about a minute before it dies out, even on a full team. Moat is a bit more useless, but you can still use it as a panic button, so to speak. And going to jump ahead to the 4, because it's another panic button. I don't think it says it here because I'm too bored to actually read, but this miasma actually hits a stun. So when you use it as a panic button, you can stun the enemies for about a second or two, and also viral proc everything for 6 seconds, which is pretty amazing. 56 meters of course, absolutely broken. And finally, Toxic Lash. Saryn doesn't even need a lot of power strength. Here are the stats without the mods. 34% added toxin damage to your melee attack, absolutely barbaric. So fucking ridiculous. 55 seconds duration, meaning you only have to use it twice on a single zone, and also you can use it while it's active, so it never goes away pretty much. Saryn has no permanent spell that drains her energy, so you can keep making void rifts with your Tenno and get infinite energy. With her base 300, it's more than enough to do whatever the fuck you want. Now, looking at the rest of my gear, I'm running a Sinoid Gamma Core, which gives me energy. I don't even use it that much. It also helps destroy nullifiers. Pretty simple, straightforward build for it, like most secondaries. And also I'm using the Atarax, and don't panic, I finally caved in and got the Memeing Strike. Now, I understand this build is pretty expensive to get, so I made a pretty simple replacement for you guys. Here's a normal pressure point, normal reach, Berserker and Blood Rush are necessary, unfortunately, you need those. Weeping Wounds instead of Memeing Strike for that extra status, I think it's pretty cool, but it's also optional. Drifting Contact because I prefer it to body count, it gives you extra status, which is awesome, although not necessary when you have Weeping Wounds. Not as necessary. Jagged Edge instead of Buzzkill if you don't have Buzzkill, and also Organ Shatter is a pretty cheap mod. Pretty straightforward build, and I'm going to be using of course the broken one because I want to do a lot of damage with my Atarax. With this build, believe it or not, the broken Atarax isn't the one doing the damage, it's all on Saryn. She does so much and such unbelievable damage, and what's best about her right now is that because her spores spread corrosive, the later the zones get, like after zone 8 etc., the more damage you're going to do compared to other Warframes. I already did a video on Vote, and he can do pretty well up to about zone 8, but every consecutive zone Vote gets worse and Saryn gets better, and that's why I love her and love playing her so much right now. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Time for some Elite Onslaught. My team is going to be containing the Vote I mentioned, which is awesome because I want to show Saryn against arguably the best Warframe for the first 8 zones, which is Vote. Unfortunately, this week's Zone 1 map is pretty garbage, the enemies barely spawn, so pretty much no Warframe can be effective here. I'm just going to fast forward this map, it's pretty pointless to watch it. 0 spawns, nothing interesting going on. Okay, we're finally done with this ho-ho. Now, let's move on to Zone 2. Speaking of garbage maps, this one is pretty garbage as well. The only viable spawns and where you can actually play is on the outside, and still you don't get to kill a lot of enemies. This one is pretty boring as well. Let's skip this one too. Okay, done with this shit show as well. Zone 3 is where the game begins pretty much. Here is where you can spread your spores with Saryn. I'm using the Xenoid Gamma Core, but also the Atarax. And as you can tell in the bottom right corner, I'm about to infect the entire map. And the damage is going up so fast because the more enemies that have spores on them, the faster it goes up. You don't really care at this point, you can still pretty much use the Atarax to sow the map. This build is so overkill, it's ridiculous. But I wanted to bring all my best shit to just show off in a way. Because Saryn is amazing, but bringing cool weapons also helps. And as you could tell in my build, I don't even have that much power strength, but by the end of this video I'm going to have more damage than both, trust me. Moving on to Zone 4. This is a pretty old map. When I came back to the game, I think it's the first map in my vote video. When I came back into the game, it was the first map I ever played in Elite Onslaught. So it's a pretty good map for vote. He should be able to catch up a bit with me, but I don't think it's going to end up mattering. I just wanted to briefly mention the other two Warframes are Luly and Ember, so they're not really worth mentioning in terms of damage. Saryn is the best DPS in the game right now, in my opinion, so I'm basically competing with Vote up to Zone 8, because that's where he starts dropping off, and Saryn keeps getting better, so if I can out DPS him on this many maps, you can just imagine what happens when we keep going. We're done with Zone 4, and our grade is pretty shit because the spawns aren't the best on this map, but this is where we're going to be playing pretty much next to the enemy all the time. I hate this map because the spawns are very stacked and you can get knocked down very easily without it being your fault necessarily. Like this ancient is probably about to kill me, but I managed to get away, and we're going to wipe this map pretty easily. I'm not sure when I'm going to tap to show you guys the DPS, hopefully soon, or at the end, it doesn't even matter, just enjoy the show. Moving on to Zone 6, and this map is absolutely busted for Elite Onslaught. It's so fun to play because you can literally wipe the entire map by playing in the middle and stay safe. As you can tell, I am infecting pretty much everything. The spores keep spreading because this vertical map is so good for any DPS who doesn't need to look at the enemy, like Equinox or Vote. So, as you can tell, I'm having a lot of fun fucking enemies up. If you ever end up on this map, don't go to the bottom, that's where you die, and if you stay at the top, it's a bit riskier, but you can do it. As you could tell, I tapped quickly to show I have over 50% of the damage dealt by this point, and keep in mind, this is Vote's playground. This is where Vote should be dominating, and I have 50% of the damage dealt. I tapped again to show you guys 58% at this point. Conduit materializing. Time to go to Zone 7. It just keeps getting better for Saryn. This map is pretty difficult to play, to be honest. If you end up here with a weaker Warframe, you might struggle because the enemies are pretty dangerous. Corrupted enemies in general are more dangerous than they seem. But this is where I'm going to completely take over because Vote is starting to fall off and Saryn doesn't ever fall off. Your corrosive projection comboed with your spores, which take away all armor, basically mean you can do this forever until enemies stop spawning. We're wrapping up Zone 7. I think I tapped quite a few times, not sure how fast I'm going to speed up the video to show you guys, but it's time for Zone 8, and Zone 8 is the best map I've ever played on Elite Onslaught. It's so easy to play and so fun. Enemies everywhere, so many enemies spawn, and you get to wipe them all off the face of the map. And to boost everything about this map, it's Corpus. Corpus are the weakest enemy out of everyone. Maybe infected are a bit weaker, infested, whatever. I tapped quickly to show you guys the 60%. It's pretty amazing that Saryn can do this. Like, it's not even Saryn o'clock. Saryn isn't even supposed to be good yet. Maybe that's why she's getting nerfed. But she isn't even at her finest right now, and I'm already dominating the DPS. I admit the Atarax is helping, the Xenoid Gamma Core is helping, but they're helping for about 10% maybe. Saryn is doing the majority of the work with her 4 and her 1. And honestly, her 3 as well is helping a lot. I activated it to even convert more of my damage to Saryn as the main source. And to be honest, Saryn can keep going for a lot longer. I'm going to add a screenshot, maybe at the end, maybe right now, to show you guys. Using this build, I finally managed to get past Zone 11, which I had never been past. Me and my friends played a 3-man squad, and we managed to reach Zone 14 twice. Now, I admit the Zone 14 map is fucking cancer to play. There are no enemies spawning, and at that point the efficiency requires a lot to keep going. So I'm not sure if we can keep going past Zone 14, but the fact you can reach it with almost Saryn alone, like, I'm pretty sure people are going to post solo builds of them reaching it somehow and getting past it. More power to them. I guess the spores aren't really a team-oriented tool, especially if your team isn't trying to use them properly. But as you can tell, even with a team that isn't supporting me in any way, I mean, who's going to support Ember and Loki? Or Devote trying to take the damage? But even with a team that supports you in no way whatsoever, you can easily wipe the first 8 maps with Ember, have a lot of with Saryn, have a lot of fun, and do pretty much whatever you want. 61% overall right now, and we're about to finish Zone 8. Like, what more can I say about Saryn? She's fucking phenomenal. There really isn't anything more to say. RIP if she gets nerfed. This is the best Saryn has ever been. All her abilities are useful. I haven't talked a lot about her too, but even it manages to get used. I am so happy with this Warframe and so glad I got to show you guys. Thanks as always for watching. Here are the final stats. As you can tell, shitload of kills, 2600 total kills and only 600 of them attacks. Make of that what you will. Thanks as always for watching and I'll see you on the next one.